Hi, I'm Joe Iconis.
And I'm Jennifer Ashley Tepper.
On today's episode of the album podcast, we're going to be talking about Sympathy for the Killer, which is a song that is kind of in the world of the horror movie songs that exist on the album, but it's less about one horror movie and more just about the idea of the victims in horror movies.
You are going to get to listen to an amazing rendition of the song as sung by Liz Lark Brown with a 1930s themed arrangement from Charlie Rosen. Very hep.
It's very hep. It's hep for Halloween, as the kids would say. Check it out.
We agreed to our roles, and we may not be couple goals. You have got a taste to feed, and darling, I'm a...
Sympathy for the Killer.
Yeah.
This is such a dramatically different song than the last few songs we've been talking about.
Yeah.
It's like in a different style musically.
It is, yeah. You know, this Sympathy for the Killer is a weird one. It's not done all that much, and it's a song that I wasn't sure I wanted to include on the album. And then when I decided, it's one of the few that I rewrote a little bit for the album, just because what I was trying to say with the song, I feel like maybe wasn't totally clear in its first version, and so I just wanted to clarify a little bit. And it's basically in the second verse, the lines about therapy and stuff. But yeah, you know, Sympathy for the Killer is kind of an intentionally messy song about a person who is kind of playing the victim, and is playing the victim whether for reasons that are either because of herself, it's because she has cast herself in this role, or because society has cast her in this role, and it's like which one of those two things is it? And it's probably both of those things, and you know, so that's sort of like what I wanted to write about, and I think I saw many people I knew at the time when I first wrote it, who were sort of in these relationships, and not even just romantic relationships, but you know, friendships and stuff. And I certainly felt that myself, where it was like you're in these, you know, these relationships where you're just you're being abused, and how hard it is to get out of an abusive relationship, whether that abuse is emotional or physical or monetary or whatever. And that sort of terrible cycle of recognizing this is happening. I'm aware it's happening, and I am complicit in allowing it to happen, but I can't get out of it, you know? Which I think is a very real thing for very many people. And then I liked the idea of using the framework of one of the victims in these horror movies that I love watching and I love writing about, you know, and it's like the idea of are these people like putting something out in a way that allows, you know, Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees or whoever, Freddy Krueger, to come after them, or is it just, you know, is it just dumb luck, or you know, what is it? What is that actual relationship? Yeah, and then because that idea feels so sort of like contemporary, you know, it feels so like examining, oh, why are we in these relationships that we're in? Again, be they, you know, romantic or you know, friends or professional, whatever. Why are we in these things, and how do we end up here, and how do we navigate them? That feels like such a, you know, sort of modern thing to question that. I like the idea of using a musical style of the past and to have it feel like this sort of, you know, 1940s jazzy, you know, tune that, like, if you didn't hear the lyrics of Sympathy for the Killer, you know, you might, if you just heard the music, it would totally fit in as like, you know, background music and like, you know, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel or something, right? Totally. It's like, it's that kind of like nightclub 40s vibe, which also I think is, you know, is also kind of saying that this this problem or this situation that the song is depicting is, it's like tale as old as time. It's like, it's something that's been around forever. We're just kind of like talking about it now.
Was this song written like on Liz Lark Brown's voice?
This song, it was, yeah. I wrote this for Liz Lark Brown. Yeah.
When was like the first time she performed it?
She performed it at the Beachman. I don't know if it would have been a Halloween concert or not. I bet it was. And it was probably like 2000 and I think this was like 2000. This might have been 2010, actually.
I guess
like
it's
9 or
a
10.
big year for you writing a lot of songs.
I wrote so many songs.
It does now that we're talking about it. I'm like, oh, I guess it's sort of related to Hatchet Job, or maybe I just feel that way because that's another like signature
Yeah.
Liz Lark Brown song that's related to killing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Liz Lark Brown songs that I've written that are related to killing or maiming or I mean, Liz is just like she's such a great musical comedy performer, and she she has this gorgeous voice that works so well in, like a lot of people on the album that work so well in the world of kind of like rock and pop, but also classic musical theater. But Liz, like, there's something about her voice, she's gorgeous deep voice, that it feels like, it's like chanteusy, It's like, it's something that is like, it feels like kind of from another time in the best way. And so I think I really like giving her stuff that plays against the sort of like classicness of her voice. It's like, what would it be like if some of the great singers of the 40s and 50s and 60s could sing, content that they never would have been allowed to sing in the 40s and 60s, and so for me, because her voice is so sort of gorgeous, and because it immediately takes you to this place of like, like a smoking nightclub, or like an old sort of beautiful gilded theater, I feel like time and time again when I write for her, I want to return to images of like blood and murder and monsters and things like that feel really at odds with what her voice just kind of sounds like when she lets it rip. And this is another like amazing Charlie Rosen arrangement that, like, what I love about his work always, but on this song in particular, it doesn't like tip its hat to the horror of the content of the song. It really allows itself to just exist in this kind of old-timey place, which then allows the content to be the thing that is sitting to slightly to the left of that.
Totally. It's also, I feel like even when you hear this just with piano, you can intuit the style that we're talking about, the 1940s and all of that. But it's so exciting to hear it with an instrumentation. Like, it's just, it really makes you feel like you're there.
Yeah, I think so. And I think because there are so many songs on this album that are from the point of view of, like killers, or killers or monsters or whatever. I like the idea of having just addressing the fact that there are victims of those people. Yeah. And even though this song I do not think is I think there's a lot going on, and it's not like, it's definitely not like justice for the victims of werewolves.
Sure.
There's more to it, but it's just sort of like hearing from that other side and kind of acknowledging the weird sort of symbiotic relationship where it's like you have to in order for there to be a villain, there has to be a victim,
Sure.
And vice versa.
Killer, monster, or whatever. The sequel to Loser Geek.
Yeah. I also I feel like I need to give a shout out to Molly Hager, who does some creepy backups.
Yeah.
And I think the creepy backups are I always think of that as like the audience watching the movie. It's like that is like performing the role of the enablers who are kind of either the reason for it or certainly not helping it. The kind of like reacting, the like, aw, and it's like both sympathizing with the victim and wanting to see her get carved up, which I think is such a strange thing about horror movies and relationships. The people who are counseling the person in the bad relationship, it's like there's this sense of like, living off of someone else's drama and living off of someone else's misfortune. And so I think that's an element that's in the tune as well.
That's the sympathy for the killer. I was trying to, it's okay.
No, it was good. I was just giving a look, but.
Oh, sympathy for the killer.
Hey, thanks so much for listening or watching to my podcast. Do me a favor and go to wherever you just listen to or watch this thing and subscribe or like or give us a great rating or review, and then head to bpn.fm/album to find out even more information about this podcast, more ways to watch, more ways to listen, and check out my album. Thanks so much for hanging out.
Album Podcast is executive produced by Liz Armstrong, produced by Dori Berenstein, Alan Seals, Kim Garris, and the rest of the team at the Broadway Podcast Network. Be sure to visit bpn.fm/album for both audio and video versions of this podcast and to listen to Album.